Today, I'll be doing a video on Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche is an interesting man, very interesting personality. Plenty of ideas of his are disagreeable there. There's some irony in the life of Friedrich Nietzsche. I can remember him come up with the concept of the Übermensch. The irony comes in when I consider his health. His physical health was terrible. The Übermensch is supposed to be like a higher man. The Übermensch is supposed to surpass himself. Some people might interpret that as meaning that the Übermensch is supposed to have all sorts of physical attributes which your average person wouldn't have. Friedrich Nietzsche, his health was so poor that he would have never fell into the category of Übermensch when conceived in that way. Sometimes connect some of ideas, Friedrich Nietzsche, the higher man, with God's redeemed humanity. It's a very interesting thought. There are lots of scriptures which could support that idea. There are scriptures about how Jesus has overcome the world, how he is perfectly righteous, and how the temptations in the world, he can very easily overcome the temptations. Of course, there are certain circumstances where he's more prone or susceptible to falling into a temptation on account of his humanity. But as a general rule, he would have been very well poised for resisting temptations, much more than your average human. So, some of the work of Friedrich Nietzsche with the higher man some of it, I think some people would be found connecting the idea of the Übermensch with the redeemed humanity and its sanctification. How it resists temptation. How the redeemed humanity walks in the newness of life, takes the effort to walk as Jesus walked. For a creature to take the effort to walk as Jesus walked, that involves being a follower of the one who has overcome the world. By overcoming the world, I think what is meant is that the things in the world, the redeemed creature doesn't set its affections on the things in the world. It loves God and it wants to please Him. And it understands, it's sensitive to the understanding that the people of God, the elect, they are sojourners on the earth. That their real home is in heaven. And back to Friedrich Nietzsche. I think he's very interesting. I think that his coming up with the idea of the Übermensch, I think that there'll be people who will be able to form a connection with that certain scriptures. The book of Friedrich Nietzsche, which I've decided to bring with me, Beyond Good and Evil, that is a very interesting title for a book. I can remember I'm trying to work out how could something be beyond good and evil? It doesn't make that much sense. It has to be very theoretical for a person to ever come to an accurate understanding of what it would be for something to be beyond good and evil. It's so theoretical that it would probably be very impractical. I can remember a time where I thought that perhaps God's decision to create the world was beyond good and evil. I think that in God is light, and there is no darkness at all. I also think that the creation of the world and humanity is really profound. The little quotes in the book, Beyond Good and Evil, some of them are interesting. Plenty I disagree with. I'm on a page about Friedrich Nietzsche questioning love of one's enemies. 216 of Beyond Good and Evil. I don't like that. I think that Jesus wants people to love their enemies. Hmm. 277, Beyond Good and Evil. Quote, annoying, the same old story. When one has finished one's house, one realizes that while doing so, one has learnt unawares something one absolutely had to know before one began to build. The everlasting pitiful, quote, too late, end quote. The melancholy of everything finished, end quote. That's very interesting. Friedrich Nietzsche, lots of interesting work. His work provides plenty of occasion for reflection, philosophical thought. And 278, quote, wanderer, who are you? I see you go your way without scorn, without love, with unfathomable eyes, moist and sad as a sounding lead that has returned to the light unsated from every deep. What was it looking for down there? With a breast that does not sigh, with a lip that hides its disgust, with a hand which now reaches out but slowly, who are you? What have you done? Repose here. This place is hospitable. To everyone, refresh yourself. And whoever you may be, what would you like now? What will refresh you? You have only to name it. Whatever I have, I offer you. Quote, refreshments? Refreshments? Oh, inquisitive man, what are you saying? But please give me. End quote. What? What? Say it. Quote, one more mask. A second mask. End quote. That's also interesting. Some parts of Friedrich Nietzsche's work of his work take plenty of time to analyze. I can remember a YouTube video where someone did, I think, a 45-minute analysis of a single paragraph in the work of Friedrich Nietzsche. (279) Quote, men of profound sorrow give themselves away when they are happy. They have a way of grasping happiness as if they wanted to crush and smother it from jealousy. Alas, they know too well that it will flee away. End quote. Friedrich Nietzsche, very unique man. Some of his work people might find offensive. Some people might find him to be mean, distasteful. Some people might take certain parts of his work and think him to be mean, distasteful person. I can empathize with people and kind of understand why some people might believe that, have that view of him. The life of Friedrich Nietzsche, though, was very interesting. There were people which he was very kindly disposed towards, and despite philosophically it making very little sense that he would be kindly disposed toward these particular persons. I find that interesting. Some people might think that because some of his work, because it seems some of it might seem a bit offensive and like it's from a person which is mean, some people might think that makes no sense, that he would be very kindly disposed towards certain persons, when philosophically it makes very little sense that he would be kindly disposed toward certain persons.